When all is said and done, the ultimate proof of evolution is an appeal to human authority. We are often told by atheists that virtually all real scientists agree that we humans came through somehow evolving from lowly animals. When examining this myth, one must keep in mind that those who make this claim often rely on the belief that the only real scientists are those who accept evolution. The argument, then, essentially boils down to this: evolutionists agree that evolution happened. This, of course, is an absurd argument, and we could just as easily say that creationists agree that creation happened. The main problem, however, is that even if every single person accepted an idea, that doesn't make the idea correct. The history of science, and humanity, is filled with majority views being incorrect. Evolution is another such idea. Secondly, many scientists accept evolution because the only alternative is design, which is against their naturalistic beliefs. They have a prior commitment to keeping any miraculous interaction out of their worldviews, and they accept evolution by default. On top of that, there are actually a good number of scientists who are creationists and rejected evolution, who do not find the supposed evidence for evolution to be valid and acceptable. Natural selection is the driving force behind evolution. This mantra has been repeated so often that people often conflate the two ideas. But are evolution and natural selection the same thing? The short answer is that this is one of the most oft-repeated myths. Natural selection is an observable process that was certainly not first discovered by Charles Darwin. Species with certain characteristics survive better in a given environment. However, natural selection is non-directional and does not lead anywhere. That is, if the environment changes, members of a species that were previously better adapted may no longer be. Evolution, on the other hand, is an unobservable process that requires direction. Natural selection can only act upon the information that already exists. When certain characteristics are selected, the overall genetic information decreases. Mutations have not been shown to reverse this process. This loss of information may make members of the same created kind unable to reproduce with each other, but this merely emphasizes how much loss can occur. For example, cats can never evolve into having wings, because that kind of information is totally missing in their gene pools. During Darwin's time, technology was yet to be advanced enough to get sufficient details on the gene pools. Today, with modern scientific discoveries, we know that every organism has their own gene pools, and you cannot select what is not in your gene pool. You can only select what's already there. Like, think of going to a buffet lunch with friends. There you can select variety of food dishes, but your selection will never cause brand new, never before seen foods to appear on the table, which weren't there before. Similarly, natural selection can't cause an organism to attain new genetic informations in the gene pools which were never there before. It's just too simple. You can only select from things which are already in there. Therefore, natural selection doesn't confirm Darwin's evolutionary model in any way. Evolutionists argue that theism or creationism is false because the natural designs are somewhat imperfect or bad, which wouldn't be the case if an almighty all-knowing God had created us. But this bullshit argument is easily refutable. If we look around us, and even in our own bodies, there are many structures that seem to show less than optimal design. What this means to some evolutionists is that this proves there is no creator. After all, a creator as intelligent as God would not have made imperfect designs. Debunking this goofy myth requires very little effort. First of all, how can humans judge what is optimal design? Some designs require a balance of efficiency and effectiveness, as we find in the human eye, a structure perfectly suited for human life. Also, we would hardly expect a universe that has been cursed with degeneration for over 6,000 years to maintain optimal design. The fact that we continue to survive, however, is evidence of how well the original design was. Finally, the broadening field of biomimetics, which is copying design from nature, shows us that God's creation offers a wealth of design potential, and good design at that. The slam dunk proof for human evolution is, according to evolutionists, the claimed 98% similarity between human and chimp DNA and the evidence of chromosomal fusion. Textbooks tell us that this proves the common ancestry of humans and apes from ape-like beings that lived millions of years ago. What makes this a myth, however, is that evolutionists forget to mention the problems with this claim. For one thing, the percentage of similarity may sound impressive, depending on which percentage you find, but this represents millions of letters of difference in the DNA. Factor in that many of the differences in the DNA are not represented in the 98% similarity, such as deletions, and epigenetic differences, and the chasm grows. Second, seeing the history of humans evolving from chimps in DNA and chromosomes requires a prior commitment to evolution. Evolutionists interpret the data to mean what they want it to mean in light of Darwin's myth. Though there are similarities between apes and humans, this too is strong evidence for a common creator, who gave values and senses of morality to mankind unlike other creatures. But this doesn't stop evolutionists, knowingly or not, from using flat-out propaganda. You may have heard this one a time or two. The development and spread of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, and pesticide-resistant plants and insects, is shouted from the rooftops as proof of evolution happening right now. Selection pressures push these organisms to evolve, at least, this is how evolutionists explain it. Do bacteria develop resistance to antibiotics? Yes, this is documented science. Does this prove Darwinian evolution? No, not even close. Once again, evolutionists take the observations and pass them through their worldview filter. The problem, for evolutionists, is that the mutations that cause bacteria, and other organisms, to overcome environmental pressures are not the information-gaining mutations required for Darwin's postulation. In fact, these mutations often come at a steep price to the organism, a price that doesn't show up until the environmental pressure is removed, and it often means the inability to compete with non-mutant bacteria. Bacteria, in fact, show the amazing creativity of God in that they can swap DNA with other bacteria. This amazing feature reveals the provisions God made for them to survive in a fallen world and rapidly changing environments. However, they do not and cannot evolve into anything else. They have been and will always be bacteria. Thanks for watching the video. These are the most prevalent evolutionary/Darwinian myths which people maybe aren't aware about, which leads them into getting indoctrinated by the anti-God media and institutions. Subscribe and stay notified if you want to watch the part 2, where I will be showing another 5 myths evolutionists believe in.